Good afternoon. We will now call to order this meeting of the Public Safety Standing Committee. I will begin by reading in the Chamber Emergency Evacuation Plan announcement and public speaker guidelines. Upon activation of emergency alarm signal, all persons should immediately exit the building. Please use exits to the left, right, or front of the council chamber or the east or west stairwell outside the rear doors of the chamber. Do not use elevators or escalators. After exiting the building, proceed down 9th Street and into the assembly area located in the former public safety building parking lot. Able persons should assist visually and hearing impaired visitors with exiting the building. Persons wishing to speak during the public comment period and/or public hearings are generally allowed 3 minutes to speak. Persons appearing before the committee are not allowed to campaign for public office, promote private business ventures, use language of a personal nature which assaults or demeans any person, including comments directed at public officials or staff members that are not related to their official duty, or address the questions staff members directly. All questions should be directed to the committee chair. Failure to adhere to the guidelines may result in speakers forfeiting any remaining time and further disciplinary action as necessary, which can include barring from attendance at future meetings of the committee for a period of 6 months. We will now move on to the approval of the minutes. The minutes to be approved are from July 22nd, 2025, Public Safety Standing Committee meeting. If there are no amendments or corrections, then those minutes stand approved as presented. Those minutes have been approved. We will now move on to the public comment period. Is there anyone here present today that would like to speak about items not on today's agenda? Seeing none, the public comment period is now closed. We will now move on to papers for consideration. Item 1, ordinance 2025-221, to accept funds of $250,000 from the Virginia Department of Emergency Management and to amend the FY26 special fund budget by creating a new special fund for DECPR called the FY26 SHSP Radio Repeater Special Fund and to appropriate the increase for the purpose of purchasing and installing radio repeater equipment. That paper is before the committee.
All right, good afternoon, Jonathan Fetterman, Department of Emergency Communications Preparedness and Response. This paper is to authorize the CEO to accept grant funds from the State Homeland Security Program grant, which is to install radio repeaters within our public safety radio system for the purpose of enhancing our in-building coverage. So, and answer any questions that you have.
I just have one question. How
Yes.
many will be installed?
We are working on finalizing that, but it looks like 4 right now. So
How many?
I believe 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have something?
We will
Thank
now move on to the public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in opposition of item 1? Is there anyone here that would like to speak in support of item 1? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Bring it back to the committee.
I don't think we have any questions at this time.
Do we have a motion or in a second?
I move to bring this to the whole body.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. The committee is voting a motion to forward item 1, ordinance 2025-221 to council with the recommendation to approve. Ms. Abubakar?
Aye.
Ms. Trammell?
Aye.
That motion has been approved. We will now move on to item 2, ordinance 2025-222, to amend city code concerning towing and storage fees for the purpose of modifying the limits on fees charged for the towing, storage, and safekeeping of certain vehicles removed from private property. That paper is before the committee.
Good afternoon, Lynn Lancaster, General Services. The purpose of this paper is to amend section 27302 of the city code for towing and storage fees from private property for the purpose of making city code comparable to the state's code. The advisory board for the assessment of towing fees and the storage of vehicles met on August the 7th and approved the proposed code amendments. The rate has not been increased since in the last 7 years. The state did increase their rates effective January 2025, and the private property towers wanted our rate to be comparable to what the state is charging. The state rate is 210, but the tow board agreed to 195.
Wait a
And
minute,
if you
can you
look at-
repeat that? Excuse
I
me,
mean-
Lynn, can you repeat that, please? What did you just,
The private property trespassing tolls had not been increased in 7 years.
okay, how much is it now, you said?
The state is 210, but ours is 195. We're increasing from 135 to 195, if you see item A. And then we're also increasing towing of vehicles from 7 PM to 8 AM from 25 to 30. And then the maximum fee that can be charged for storage overnight in the 24-hour period, after a 24-hour period, moves from 45 to 50. The maximum fee that may be charged for administrative fees is from 50 to 75. This fee may only be charged when vehicles have been left in the tow lot over 72 hours. After hour release fee now to exceed, will not exceed $35, may be charged for vehicles released between 7 PM and 8 PM. No other fees or liens or towing, storage, administrative costs may be charged. Individuals or business entities which take payment for the fees cited in this section shall give the person making the payment and their representative a receipt which clearly itemizes the fee paid. And item G is towing and recovery operators shall, for payment of these fees cited in this section, accept cash, certified checks, money orders, or credit cards as required by Virginia State Code. Pursuant to Virginia Code 46.6-1233-1B, council shall direct the towing advisory board to periodically review and recommend adjustments to these fees as established by this ordinance. Tow board had several meetings to discuss what they thought should be in this ordinance. Any questions?
I do have a few questions. And I want to make another point of clarification or expectation management that we got this less than 24 hours before this committee meeting. We were supposed to have, I think it's 3 days before a committee meeting. It is very difficult to make informed decisions without time to dig into legislation, particularly when there is fiscal impact to our citizens. So again, I would implore the administration to ensure that not just council leadership, but that the council committee members that the legislation is going to have to pass through are informed well in advance of having to make decisions. Secondly, in terms of maximum allowable, going from 135 to 195, I would assume that that means that there's nobody that's going to say we're keeping our towing fees at, they don't have to move them up to 195, but nobody is going to,
Well, the
Keep
industry
that-
wanted us to max out at 210, which is what the state paid. And the tow board felt that from 135 to 210 was too aggressive.
I
So
would
that's what we
agree.
paid at 195.
it's a whole $15 less, but it's a $30 jump for the average person. What is, in terms of like the breakdown, how much of that goes to the city versus the operators?
It all goes to the operators. This has nothing to do with the city's contract with Cyberts. This is totally different. This is private tows from private property.
Okay.
Did anybody else know about this before it was brought today to this committee? Was,
Yes, several months ago, it was Matt Benka who I think he is the lobbyist for the private tow companies, approached a member of city council and
The
asked
president of-
asked us
the
to
president.
increase the rate, and we had to go through the tow board for any increase. So we've been working on this since July.
I know that I understand that we say, it's this much, that much. But when you put on there the holidays and the weekends, isn't that more money? And then if somebody's not, and you said this is only for the private lots.
Well, what they
Which-
did was, yes, what they did was instead of saying Saturdays and Sundays, they just made it blanket 7 PM to 8 AM. Which, so any after-hour tows, the fee would increase.
So, but you're saying that it's only on private lots. So that would
Correct.
be like apartments that are posted or businesses that are posted. It's not like it's not like where they can just go out in the street and go tow a car.
Correct.
And how many-
It's trespassing on private property tows.
Is there a reason why why they did strike the Saturday, Sunday, or holiday? Because that makes the law more capacious for the tow truck drivers.
To be honest, I don't remember. Greg, do you remember?
As requested by the Towing Advisory Board and recommended.
Today, I feel like I cannot support this paper. As my colleague said, we're supposed to have at least 3 days notice, and we just saw it. Well, I saw it last night, and then here we are today, and it's in front of us that we had questions, and now it's like, I appreciate you, Lynn. I really, really appreciate you. But
I think it was a timing issue because it was just introduced yesterday and the committee meeting was today. The next meeting would be the end of October. And so therefore it wouldn't be approved until November. So I think it was just a timing issue. It wasn't any slighting, but I think it was just the timing.
Well, here we go again. We had the president of council that knew about it, but did not bring it before us, before we even have a one-on-one conversation with me or my colleagues that's on public safety. I'm just now hearing all this today. So I would make a recommendation that we continue this.
I would second that recommendation.
Okay.
We do have to have a public hearing.
Oh, yep.
Oh, okay.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak in opposition of item 2? Is there anyone here that would like to speak in support of item 2? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Bring it back to the committee. Did you want to continue? How long did you want to continue this paper for?
Probably, we'd like to continue it for 60 days.
60 days? Okay. That'll bring it to your November 25th meeting. That's what y'all want to do?
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I move to push this agenda item for 60 days.
Second.
Thank you. The committee is voting on the motion to continue item 2, ordinance 2025-222, to November 25th Public Safety Standing Committee meeting. Ms. Abubakar,
Aye.
Chair Trammell.
Aye.
That motion has been approved.
Thank you.
This concludes the papers for consideration. We will now move on to presentations. We have a Shacklebottom Bottom update from Chief of Police Rick Edwards.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. I'm Rick Edwards. I'm the Chief of Police for the City of Richmond. We're going to be presenting a snapshot of crime year to date quickly, and then an update on some of the Shacklebottom Bottom concerns that we were going to address in July, but got pushed. So year to date, our overall violent crime is up 3%. As you will see, we're flat on murders. Aggravated assaults are a bit down. Our non-fatal shootings are down 17%. Significant reductions in all violent crime, with the exception of aggravated assault domestic related. Our team has looked deeply into those numbers and determined it's a reporting issue. We have transitioned from reporting. So there's the same amount of aggravated assault domestics as simple assault domestics. We have shifted the reporting to reflect that when a victim of domestic violence is choked or grabbed by the throat, regardless of consciousness, regardless of shunting blood or breath, we are counting that now as an aggravated domestic assault. So nothing has changed. It's our reporting structure, but again, that's accounting for some of the violent crime increase. It is significant, but when we review them line by line, it is that new direction we're giving to our officers to report it as such. So again, good numbers. We'll report out on the third quarter, the first week of October when these numbers are finalized, but they'll be very similar to this. Let's see. Okay. Property crime, this is where we're really excelling. So 15% reduction overall. As you know, property crime affects many more Richmonders than violent crime. Burglaries are down 34%. Shoplifting, I'm happy to say, is down 1%, although that is still a massive number. Theft from motor vehicles, which is an issue that has historically been the #1 crime in Richmond, is again trending in the right direction, and a significant reduction in motor vehicle theft. We are certainly working very diligently to push the number of motor vehicle thefts, but our analysis is partial good police work, but the majority of it is that Hyundai and Kias have updated it. It's much more difficult to steal those cars. We've given out over 1,000 wheel locks to anyone in Richmond with a Hyundai or Kia, and that number is trending down, which is more in line with what we've seen historically. So we're very pleased about that. Now, some of the Shockoe Bottom updates. The reason Shockoe Bottom is a concern, and also other pop-up parties are a concern, is for the possibility of mass shootings. And we see that in our city with open carry folks, everyone armed, and once one person starts shooting, it can happen elsewhere. There are examples here, but if you were to Google it, every weekend, there are other examples in cities where there are these large gatherings and open access to firearms. So we've addressed that pretty effectively in Shockoe Bottom, but it is an ongoing challenge. As the weeks have gone by, though, the crowds have lessened, and we've been able to make some arrests and some examples that I'll explain for you. Many of you know that we had a DPW worker in his truck on duty, working in the middle of the night when individuals in Shockoe Bottom started shooting. These two individuals have been charged. So Mr. Jordan Gale of Henrico, Mr. Amar Hendrickson of Chesterfield were charged with that particular shooting and went through the truck cab and struck one of our DPW workers in the shoulder. Thankfully, he is recovering, but this was a completely innocent victim who was caught up at the wrong place at the exact wrong time, and we're just lucky that his injuries were not more serious. But we're happy that we were able to make arrests in that case. It's another case we've been asked about. Sean Haskell, the second 18 of age of Richmond, was arrested not only in Shockoe Bottom with a firearm. This individual is pointing a firearm at a marked police cruiser. We were able to find that on his phone and make an arrest based upon that. We also learned that our colleagues in Virginia Beach, he was arrested there for illegally carrying a firearm in Virginia Beach. Same type of open carrying behavior in a crowded space. Now, there is some good news. Firearms being stolen from vehicles, 12% reduction this year over last year. And as you can see, this is a heat map, and the bright yellow is where most of our guns are being stolen. There's some other locations, as you can see, throughout our city, but the bright yellow is directly in Shockoe Bottom. And that's 360 firearms. While that's a reduction from last year and it's been trending in the right direction, I think the message is getting out to our community members that your vehicle is not a safe place to store your firearm. It's still 360 guns in the hands of criminals, which is causing very challenging incidents throughout our city. And here's an example. It took place on April 6th. I was actually working that night and was involved directly in this. So you see, this is a perfect example of how fights can escalate into gunfire. So there was a fight at 0050 hours. So after midnight, that was broken up by police officers. This same group of individuals started fighting again about 45 minutes later. They walk away. And then this is video from a body cam still showing them returning with the male with a rifle in his hands, coming back to that same fight. Now, I was standing out there. As I'm talking to this individual, I notice he has the outline of another firearm in his waistband, and I seized that, and he was arrested. We brought him to court, and he pled guilty for concealed weapon. But this is a person who was from Petersburg, not from our city, who, when I spoke to him, I asked him why he did this, that he could have very easily been shot by our officers or could have been killed by someone else. He just stood on the fact that it's his right to have a firearm. And we narrowly avoided something that night, but those type of examples happen often. Now, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about this or any other topics.
Chief, just, how many officers do you have there on the weekends? Because I know that's when a lot of the crime is happening, a lot of the fights and all of that, because I'm getting so many calls every weekend from people in my district
Yes.
that's upset because they said they ride down and they see all these officers and why are they down there and not over here, when sometimes I guess Sector 213, there could be only one officer working that whole area, and that's a big area. So they're asking me, why is all the resources there? Are they off duty? They on duty? What? I told them I would ask you today at the public safety meeting.
Yes, ma'am. So we've mandated mandatory overtime for individuals to work in the bottom. So we have 4 on Friday night, 4 on Saturday night that come in for overtime. Because I've had to ask my officers to do that, I've also instructed my senior command staff, including myself, to participate in that. So every week, one of the senior command staff members, captains, majors, deputy chiefs, and myself will go there as well. We're not entitled to overtime, but we spend our time there. And then we also have First Precinct. So First Precinct makes the majority of the time down there. So they will have anywhere between 6 and 8 on-duty officers and supervisors, including the duty lieutenant down there. The watch commander is instructed to be there as well. And I wish that this was the only challenge we had in our city for these types of events, but there are many other locations, pop-up parties in some of our RRHA communities, and also Park RVA attracts hundreds of people every weekend with similar open carry. So we have to be nimble, and sometimes we will use those officers that are on duty to go to other locations if Shockoe Bottom is not as packed. And as we've been going through the summer and it's been getting cooler, the crowds have been getting less. And so we're hoping to be able to push those officers back into the field to protect the rest of our city.
Okay, because I know that First Precinct, those officers have to cover Blackwell, Oak Grove, and also Hillside Court.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's where they're like, don't understand, but you just explained it.
Well, one thing I can tell you is that we are in the process of reevaluating the lines. So,
Oh, really?
yes, ma'am. We had a study commissioned by VCU. And while we're transitioning to a new records management system, VCU helped us, and with the idea of using the river as a natural border. We've been in the same configuration since 2005. So VCU helped us take into account not only the crime and 911 call patterns, but also the demographic shifts that we're seeing, the increase in residents in Southside that we're seeing in Blackwell and Manchester, and to be able to adequately deploy the resources we have. As you know, we're about 20% down in staffing, so we have to be really laser-like focused on where we put our resources in order to continue to see the kind of reductions that we're seeing.
Chief, tell me how many officers you're down right now, because I know that more have left.
We're at 590 as of today. Our authorized strength is 755.
That's what I thought.
And that number has been stable since I've been the chief. We're working very diligently and trying to think outside the box to hire people, but it remains a challenge to hire for sworn. Now, we joke internally all the time. When we advertise for a crime analyst position or a position in our real-time crime center, we get hundreds of applicants. So we just don't see that same applicant pool for our sworn side.
Do you think maybe in November you'll be able to come back with the report as far as the drawing the lines, and you will have that?
We have it ready. We won't be able to implement it until the new records management system. So the goal is end of 2026 for the new records management system because it has to work with the 911 system. It has to be able to, we won't be able to get reports without that, but that's the goal. So transitioning that either at the end of 2026 or first quarter of 2027.
But you could come and just maybe give us an update or something on,
Absolutely.
thank you. Do you have something?
First off, Chief, I do want to commend you and your team for everything you're doing. And, even with the recalibrating of domestic violence, I think that's a super important thing that you're doing. And I know you never like to see a red arrow up, but I think that context is super important when we're talking about it. I want to go back to the property crimes. I know you all, and thank you for your responsiveness on wheel lock distribution when there was that wave of Honda CRVs that were getting stolen across the region. Are you now, there's no more, are there wheel locks left, just for like letting citizens know? Do you guys still have any, or are you out at this point?
Let me check.
Okay.
We did put that out there when we met with you about the Hondas, and we had a very quick response. So many of your folks contacted us. We gave those out for Hondas, and Honda is a much more common car than Hyundai or Kia. So, but let me check, and I can get back to you today.
Yeah, no, it was awesome that you guys were so responsive. And then I know you and I have talked a lot about Shockoe Bottom and just sort of that being the thing that keeps you up at night and these pop-up parties across the city. I would love to know from your perspective, enforcement is just one piece of this, right? And also knowing that you've had one hand tied behind your back since you started. What are other, mechanisms that you feel either the community or government can help in terms of, reducing this and getting people to not come down to how do we say to people, spend your money here, but don't bring your guns? Because seeing that, these examples, and I'm sure there are examples of Richmond residents, but more often than not, it's people that are coming in from, out of town even. How do we convey that message?
Well, certainly, I think acknowledging the fact that while currently you can open carry in that part of the city and it's not illegal, it's certainly a right. But, I always try to remind people that owning a firearm, possessing a firearm, carrying a firearm is a huge responsibility too. And pushing that message that it's not necessarily making you safer. So oftentimes we will see, and we have 2 murders in Shockoe Bottom this year. One of those involved an individual who is dead on Main Street with a gun in his hand, a gun that was fired during that incident. So, and it makes that much more challenging when we get to court with claims of self-defense. So it's not necessarily protecting you. If you're so afraid to go somewhere with without your firearm, then maybe you shouldn't go. Because I said this once to some individuals and they kind of didn't understand what I was talking about when I was having a conversation with individuals in the bottom, but they think of that gun as a shield to them. And oftentimes it's a magnet because it's drawing attention, and people will try you with that. And if you're carrying a firearm, you can't get in a normal fight with a person. It can easily escalate to gunfire. So that's part of it. Mayor Avula just was texting me today about the possibility of trying to do something like in Times Square, New York. In Times Square, it's illegal to possess a firearm, even for those who have concealed weapons permits. So something like that, I think, could be really helpful if we could just message that. Again, to your point, we want you to come to our city. We want you to enjoy the great restaurants we have and the nightlife, but leave your guns at home and we'll provide the security.
So legislatively, if we were to do something like a entertainment overlay district in which we could, and I think that would be Scott's Addition, Shockoe Bottom,
Perrytown,
that would that would provide some enforcement mechanism for your officers, correct?
Yes, more tools and also the ability I think many people, if they knew it was illegal, wouldn't do it. So many of the folks we're encountering are not criminals. They don't have a criminal history. They just think it's a cool thing to do to bring my gun to the city. I'm going to go there, and before they know it, they're in a
Yeah.
fight and they're using one of those weapons. So I think if we were able to even put up signs and say, gun-free zone, you cannot bring your guns here, even if it's during time frames. Obviously, more folks are moving to Shaka Bottom to live, and
Yeah.
we can make accommodations for anyone who lives there. But folks who are coming to visit and spend time in that district, I think we would benefit from having that extra tool in our toolbox.
Well, I mean, obviously, you and the administration should, guide that conversation, but please know that I think I speak for the committee when we would all, love to co-patron that and be supportive of anything that you think is going to help. And then my last question is, just because I know my people will be mad if I don't ask about it, in terms of enforcement, speed enforcement,
Yes.
what are the numbers looking like for that? I know that, you can only do so much, but how
I
are we
can
doing with that?
certainly prepare our summonses for your district and send that to you. We're getting ready to go live on the 10 locations for the red light cameras.
Mhm.
So that will be another enforcement tool in addition to our speed cameras around our schools. But we also just hired another officer that's going to do nothing but run radar. So now we'll have 3 individuals that are part-time retired officers that have come back to run radar in areas where city council members send us complaints. The rest of the special operations division focuses on the high injury network,
Mhm.
but those individuals will focus on complaints from the community directly, and then obviously from respective council members.
Well, again, I want to say thank you because it has certainly, we've had a lot of community members talk about
Yes.
speeding in certain areas. And I think just, the presence there and then also just them seeing the speed trailers and it reminds people to slow down. So thank
Well, there's
you.
a lot of ways. We always talk about it's education, it's engineering, and then enforcement. So
Yeah.
I think our Department of Public Works does a fantastic job with engineering fixes to it. We have to do our part in enforcing speed laws.
Thank you.
Also want to echo my thanks and appreciation to you all. I know it's been a rough summer, and certainly touches very close to home. Hearing about some of the domestic violence increases that we've seen overall in the city, we've seen quite a bit of those in our district, and it's just it's awful to see that trend. But thank you for everything that you and your officers are doing. We had talked about, I'm going to piggyback off of Councilmember Abu Bakr's point. We had talked about maybe a year ago or so, couple months ago, about implementing, and one of the tools that we have in our zoning now is doing the ORA, the outdoor refreshment area. I shudder to think what that might look like in implementation in some of our, in Chaco or in Carytown, or Scott's Addition. But can you all look at what other zoning tools we have, and if it is the ORA, then come back with a proposal to just say, let's just do this. Because I know we had, we got permission in the legislate to do this via legislation almost 4 years ago now. So it's been an option for us. But if that, I guess, the question is give us guidance on whether or not it's an ORA or do we have the, I do not believe that we do have the authority to just say to designate certain areas as, you can't open carry. I think Virginia law prohibits us from doing that, but
We've done it with parks. So
we own that land.
yes. So I think
Can't do
that's
it
the
with-
distinction.
Mhm.
But there were people that challenged that too, that say just because it's city-owned land, I still have a Second Amendment right. So we have to be conscious of speaking to, the city attorney's office, discussing the pros and cons. But other municipalities have fixed this, have been able to address this problem pretty effectively. So, maybe they're not like Virginia, but
Yeah.
I think if we could find a way to meet everyone halfway and to, be able to create safe spaces. We already do that if there's a private event when someone, like for the Irish Fest, you can't walk in there with an open carrier. So
And I think that is specifically in the code
Yes.
for the ORA, which is what I think that might be like our own, that's like our loophole, right? And there's no requirement, if you do an ORA, there is no requirement to have a certain minimum number of days actually be designated as days where you close off the street and people are allowed legally to walk around with open container. So, I mean, you could, in theory, you could designate it, right? Maybe we just do a once a month event, right? But I mean, that might be a loophole, but either way, it would be very helpful if you all come back next month or something and say, this is the direction we want to go. And that way we can get it underway. Okay. And then the other, oh, I'm sorry, Reba. And the other, about the red light cameras, we got quite a bit of, feedback on those, as you can imagine. Personally, I think it's great, me, I'm great. Think it's the more enforcement, the better. But did you all, the question that came up, over and over again was whether or not we council approved it and whether or not the city just had the authority to implement red light cameras. I believe the answer is yes, because I've seen red light cameras in other district, I mean, in
and
other
we've had it
cities. but-
previously. So there was a red
Okay.
light camera on Hull and near Hull and Elkhart, I think that was a red light camera for several years. And then it
Okay.
fell away and
So the addition, so if you all want to implement more photo speed ticketing, red light cameras, you have the authority to do that without going through council.
Greg, I don't know if you have a thought on that. I know that there is a limit based upon population for red light cameras, I believe. But let me check into that.
Okay. Just wanted plausible deniability. No, just joking. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Chief.
Chief, I know that you've been to many, many meetings, not, not just including our 8th district meeting, but other meetings. And you've heard people say, we want the cameras up. We want, once you lose a loved one, you don't never get them back. And for someone to be speeding, just like on Walmsley, I think it was Friday or Saturday night, I'm on Walmsley, guy just decides to come by me going about 80 miles an hour. Thank God I was able to get over here because he would have hit the whole side of my car and I probably would have hit this car head on. I mean, and you've heard the people in Reservoir Lane, on Iron Bridge Road, Richmond Highway, Walmsley. I mean, if other districts don't want those cameras, please bring them over there to our district because the people are begging for them. Not only that, like I heard the lady tell me the other day, she said, well, one thing about the cameras, it helps our police officer because they don't have to go up to the car, pull the car over and risk their lives or the person's, have a confrontation of a shooting or the fight or whatever. So they're glad for those cameras because they said they saved a lot, they save your life. And not only that, it stops other things that could, just potential have, something happen that you would regret,
Yes.
if, officer gets killed or officer gets in a fight or something like that, or even the person that's in the car that doesn't, that's got some issues that day or whatever and
Right.
decides to shoot, or the officer has to defend his or her life. So I just say that if other districts don't want it, please bring it over here in our 8th district because we welcome them 100%.
Well,
Because when,
certainly your district has a lot of places to speed. So whether it's Walmsley, Richmond Highway, you can get going really fast. And we know that as speeds increase, survivability goes down. So even if there are crashes at lower speeds, it's the survivability is higher. So even just getting people to slow down, I think is helpful.
and also, I know that, and Sarah, thank you for bringing it up about the Hondas. What year are the Hondas being stolen? That's what someone asked me a few minutes ago. What year is it? Like the older models, the newer models, or all of them?
It's runs the gambit. So it is a unique technique. They're breaking the ignition out. So sometimes at some of those scenes, we're finding that piece. That's how we were able to say that they're stealing them with using a screwdriver. So it's almost like the old school, what I used to see 25 years ago, where people would break the steering column and use a tool to start the car. So it's all over. So we haven't delineated. If someone had a Honda, we would provide them with a wheel lock.
All right, thank you. And also I want to thank you for your leadership and for all that you do, because I know you're available 24/7, 7 days a week, and your command staff too, like
Yes, ma'am.
Keyshawn Mans, I can call him. I know he's in with first and second, but he takes my calls and we're grateful. And I'm grateful for all your officers, as we call them, the boots on the ground, 24/7, 365 days a year. I don't think they get the thank yous that they definitely deserve. And I know that my colleagues on council, I know, right here, we show we want to show more support for you and your officers to let them know that we appreciate all of them for what they do.
Well, thank you for saying that. I'll relay it to my team.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I know I don't want to put the fire chief on the spot, but can I just ask you one question, please? I know you know what I'm going to ask you.
Chief Siegel, interim chief, and hello, greetings, Chad Trammell and Safety Committee.
What about Station 21? Because I got an email that said that they're on hold. It's been pushed back again for them. Because we want the firefighters to come home. We miss them at Station 21. I mean, that station is beautiful. It will take your breath away. I went by there last night and I just said, oh my God, look at this. This is gorgeous.
Yes, yes. Actually, we're very excited as well, and we're very, very close to taking occupancy. The open house is going to be pushed back to November, the first week of November. I believe we sent that date to you. I believe it's November 10th. However, that was due to just a extension for the contractors, as well as some other supplies that was needed that hasn't been delivered to the station yet. But we do expect Engine 21 to be back well before November 10th to be in there. But the actual open house will be, I believe, tentatively November 10th, and I'll double check that.
Because Chief, we want to have a big party.
Yes.
We want a big, big party.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And I want to say thank you for always taking my calls, because you have definitely taken my calls, the citizens, and that means a whole lot. And you have some great firefighters, and I'm glad that they work hand in hand with our police officers, because that means a lot when you just like, they're together. And it's because of your leadership and our chief. So I just want to say thank you, and we'll be glad when 21 comes back home.
Yes, likewise with us. We thank you, and we'll pass that on to our members as well.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you for
Okay.
the job that you do. We're grateful for you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Did y'all have anything? No. Thank you, Chief.
There's no more items on today's agenda. Did you want to conclude the meeting? Did you, there was a staff report provided to you by council staff, by the way.
Thank you.
Is
Did y'all have anything else?
this meeting adjourned?
Okay. The meeting's adjourned. Thank you, Nadia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Steve.